Do you know who's the traffic manager of Polish and international investors' capital in Poland? I speak with Piotr Matczuk, the CEO of the Polish Development Fund, PFR, the content partner of this year's edition of Europe Future Forum organized by Respublika Foundation and Visegrad Insight.
Welcome to the Visegrad Insight podcast.
We bring you global experts on the future of democracy, security, and economy.
The leading voices from Central Europe and on Central Europe.
Hosted by editors of Visegrad Insight.
Powered by Respublika Foundation from Warsaw, Poland.
Last week, the no confidence vote around Ursula von der Leyen's future has displayed how broken Central European political position is in the European Union. So nearly half of the MEPs from Central European countries across the region, from the Baltics, Visegrad group, Romania, Bulgaria, Slovenia, Croatia, have voted to keep Ursula von der Leyen in her position, in the current position as the President of the European Commission. But if you count both abstainees and those who voted to recall her from her position, that amounted to nearly the same number of people, which begs the question, what is the future of Europe, Central Europeans, at least from their political parties, declare or want for all of the bloc? My name is Wojciech Przybylski. I'm editor-in-chief of Visegrad Insight, and I invite you to listen to a brief comments and overview of the events from Central Europe that we published in the Weekly Outlook today, and then to an interview with Piotr Matczuk, whom I brand as the traffic manager of capital inflow and outflow when it comes to investment of Polish companies abroad and foreign investors at home. Let me say that again. There were over 103 MEPs who voted to have Ursula von der Leyen remain in her position, and they won together with the biggest parties in the European Parliament. But 61 voted against her, and there were over 30 abstentions. So that nearly equals the altogether in the volume of political power, the preferences of Central Europe above Ursula von der Leyen, whom you can tell many things about, but certainly you cannot say that her policies were ignoring Central Eastern Europe. She has coined herself a term that she listens to Central Eastern Europe, specifically in the context of the war. And this begs a question of who would have a better ear for Central Eastern Europe and policies to pursue than indeed herself. So we are looking at Visegrad Insight with a bit of a worry about the political direction, because it's fine and it's fair to change leaders, but there was hardly a proposal for a constructive vote. A vote that will be likely repeated, but in the context of the military industry ramp up, an investment that also benefits Central Eastern Europe, and Ursula von der Leyen keeping an eye on the chances of the industry in the region, especially Polish one, but not only, also Hungarian, also Czech and Slovak, for instance, is playing a very important part. And we don't have a substitute, at least there isn't one of a candidate that could emerge from the contenders for power in the party system. There isn't one leader. And of course, Viktor Orban doesn't want to move to the post of the president of the European Commission, let alone that he wouldn't have the voting potential, the potential of votes to be elected. But speaking of Hungary, Mr. Orban is interested now in international career. He's capitalizing again on his relationships to Donald Trump as the only representative who went for the peace talks about Gaza, organized by both the U.S. and Egyptian presidents that take place on Monday, on 13th of October. Hungarians are also particularly in the spotlight because of Laszlo Krasnohorki, who won the Nobel Peace Prize for Literature, and he's known as a deep thinker, critical of Viktor Orban. Orban congratulated the writer on his award, but Krasnohorki quickly responded that he does not change his mind and his critical position against the government of Viktor Orban, and he encourages, probably this way, all who read his literature to seek for equally critical position towards the current Fidesz government in Budapest. In other items that we highlight in the weekly outlook, I wanted to point your attention to the remarks by Alan Berset, Secretary General of the Council of Europe, who cautioned that Europe's rapid rearmament, which is unprecedented since the World War II, risks failure of hostile foreign powers manipulating elections to hijack the governments, especially that this potential is not yet molded into the democratic security setup of European nation states and the whole of the EU. So the democratic backsliding that takes place in parallel to the rapid rearmament is a potential scenario that we should be wary of. We have both cautioned about it in our report and in our writing together with Goran Buldowski at the turn of the year and at the end of the year, and then in a paper we produced at the beginning of the year, calling the mainstream forces to consolidate their effort on democratic security, to also build a strategy or political strategies that would ensure that the potential military and defense potential Europe is building is not being later hijacked by hardcore nationalists opposing the project of Europe peaceful, united, and free. Also, when it comes to individual and collective political freedoms. Those remarks of the Secretary General of the Council of Europe come very timely, also ahead of the announcement of what is going to be the policy of European Union, namely the Democratic Shield or European Democracy Shield, expected to be announced, on which topic, on this topic we have been writing and organizing events. Expect more to be coming later this year. But that's one side of the coin, the democratic resolve to spend money on defense and to build our future prosperity in tandem with investment in security. But exactly, this is the point. We are talking about prosperity and business and economic strategy. So I will now introduce you to our very special interlocutor, Piotr Matczuk, the president of Polish Development Fund, who will explain what is the strategy, what is the level of appetite also from the Polish business side and from the investors to go abroad, to expand horizons and to build a prosperity that enables the position of Central Europe, Poland in particular, but we have to be fair, most of European countries in the region are growing, are giving the promise of return on investment, and they are growing on appetites when it comes to private entrepreneurs and business, seeking foreign expansion, cooperation, and maybe being the most positive side of the developments otherwise observed in the international media about the region and not spoken about altogether enough.
Hi, if you're enjoying this episode, why not subscribe to Visegrad Insight? This gives you access to all our latest content online, as well as to our live and online events. You can use our special promo code for Visegrad Insight podcast listeners to get 35% off. Just go to visegradinsight.eu, choose a yearly subscription, and apply code Visegrad35. And now, back to the podcast.
Piotr, could you introduce yourself?
Well, that's an unexpected question. Piotr Matczuk, I'm the Chief Executive Officer of Polish Development Fund. I've spent quite a time in development institutions because before I joined the PFR, I ran the Polish office of the International Finance Corporation for 7 years, and I also spent some time in European Bank for Reconstruction and Development. So I had a very interesting opportunity to see a couple of development institutions of similar but at the same time a little bit different mandates.
And now you're running Polish Development Fund, PFR, that is the acronym of the organization. How would you describe its function, its role?
Well, first of all, when talking about the Polish Development Fund, you need to indicate that there are two main functions that the fund is fulfilling. So the first one is the investment role. And here the structure or the philosophy of the fund is very similar to its sister institutions across the world. So first of all, we look at commercial viability of projects. So we see some positive returns. We need to have positive returns from the projects. Secondly, our money needs to be additional. So we are either the first or the last money coming into the project. So this way we make it possible. And then the third thing is we look at the certain development effect. So that's what we call the mandate of the fund. So we look at themes that are important for the Polish economy, like green transition, like long-term resilience of the economy, defense, financial market development, or international competitiveness of Polish companies.
And you are talking to both investors who are international investors interested in doing business in Poland, and at the same time, you're working closely with Polish businesses, assisting them in their international expansion. Should I say that this is the daily business, so to say?
That's a large chunk of a daily business for the fund. So on one hand, we know well the business community in Poland, and we are very much interested in increasing the level of international expansion of these companies. But at the same time, we also have a list or an idea for some larger projects here in Poland, and we see for ourselves a larger form of mobilization of funds. So we want to use Polish public money just to leverage more financing from elsewhere, from ideally from interested investors from abroad, present in Poland, in funds, in infrastructure projects, different sectors.
So managing this diverse portfolio or these directions of capital flows, would you say that you're a traffic manager for investment?
I very much like this expression, and actually that should be a cornerstone expression of our interview. But in a way, we are such an institution, a traffic manager or traffic coordinator of capital flows between Poland and abroad. It's a good description for what PFR does. And then in all of these flows, we typically play a role of a passive financial investor, a minority investor. So we just a little bit show the way, grasp the trend, and then direct financing from the right investor to the right project.
So let's delve very briefly to a number of examples. You've just returned from Osaka, from Japan, and there you were part of the Team Poland for Ukraine. And part of the motto of this mission was, it was not the only mission, but Poland is a gateway to investment in Central Eastern Europe and in Ukraine. What do you want to achieve? What is the ambition here?
So there are two notions that you mentioned. So Team Poland is a new philosophy of the system of Polish development institutions to support our companies going abroad. And that's a new notion in a way that we move from a traditional silo approach towards, let's say, the list of products that we offer to a company. So the company does not have to think anymore if it uses one institution or another, and let's say double contacts with both institutions, but they can focus on whatever is their need and what sort of products address their need. It's just the very starting point of the entire initiative. So first we want to just put it on display that, international expansion is very important for us, for the system. Secondly, that we have the entire offering of products, from pure equity through senior debt, guarantees, promotion, everything. It's within our portfolio. And then, like U-Cores, because we've been working on that for a couple of months, we will be introducing more and more sort of tangible institutional solutions for companies. So right now, actually, Team Poland for Ukraine is a very good example of the entire initiative. For us, it's a little bit like a laboratory when we are testing different ways of helping companies, because it's so important for Polish companies to be present in Ukraine, to help in Ukraine's recovery. And at the same time, it's not easy, and it's not very clear when the situation in Ukraine will be settled and when it will be sort of the very right place for the investors to increase their presence. So we just try to diminish risks for the Polish investor. We try to make them more eager to be there. Then Team Poland for Ukraine is not only for Polish investors, actually, because we also look at, for example, special economic zones in Poland when an Ukrainian investor can invest, and we can help them. We can talk to Japanese, Korean, Taiwanese, and any other investors coming to Poland and having in mind the production that will also address Ukrainian needs. So we can think about it in a number of ways, but at the end of the road, we play the same role, traffic coordinator.
Well, I should hold copyrights maybe for that later on.
I think you do.
But let's talk now about a bit bigger picture. Poland is doing all right in the course of the last 30 years. It's doing more than all right in the scale of the world. There isn't one other economy that has been growing with such a consistency, and that is largely due to inflow of foreign investment. If you agree, I mean, you're the economist. I'm someone who's asking questions, but confirm or deny this hypothesis, please. On the other hand, we have had quite a big and growing domestic demand. So the domestic market has been insulating us against many of the past turbulences on the financial crisis in the 2007 and 2008, in comparison to many other Central European economies that were much more open economies. But in what I'm hearing from you now is that Poland inevitably also moves towards more open economy, more trading economy than it used to be, searching for new sources of growth.
I would put it a little bit maybe the other way around, the question that you asked. So it's a matter of sort of capital availability. The first 30 years after the sort of when the transition of Poland started, Poland was lacking capital very much. So the capital was flowing in because the country was presenting a certain level of openness and stability, and it was increasing over time. Then in 2004 we entered the EU, which sort of cemented the stability and good prospect within the new structure for the country. But the initial level of capital endowment was really low, so the private sector has been building up very gradually. So now it's not that we are opening ourselves more, it's rather that the Polish private capital, or maybe I should say private/public, because it's a little bit like interlinked here, it reached the level that can allow itself to expand with an effect at the end. So what we observe right now is that there is really a need and an appetite between Polish companies to expand internationally.
In one of the recent interviews, you mentioned that 50% of Polish companies want to invest beyond Poland. They seek this expansion, international expansion. Could you give us maybe a bit of a flavor of what sort of examples of companies' successful expansion we could observe, we could watch, we could expect maybe in the coming years?
Probably the closest examples to me are the examples that we've worked on and we help to expand. I mean, in general, we have a number of tools to support such an expansion. And we do see this expansion broadly. So on one hand, it's expansion with sort of investment outlays like capex abroad, and it could be either acquisition or greenfield investment. On the other hand, we can also help company to build up its resources in the country to allow for a very directed exports. So when we look at the examples, I mean, just recently, like literally 3 weeks ago, we signed a transaction with Grupa Trend, which is a company that produces consumer goods, and the financing provided by PFR and our partner institution CVI, which is a debt fund from Poland. We helped the company to acquire its company in Germany, which is one of Europe's largest right now, and also produces outside Europe in a number of production facilities, for example, in India. And then there's a number of synergies between the entities, so we expect it will be very much positive for the Polish company to grow. Then within the last 12 months, we supported at least 2 transactions like that. We supported the expansion of EUWIC, the IT company, into Ukraine to consolidate the IT market in Ukraine. Then we also worked with Sanok Rubber to expand to Finland, where they bought a company that specializes in rubber products. And in all of these projects, PFR supported either with equity or debt. And this is, in general, I mean, these 3 transactions are just the very beginning for us, because we will be announcing more transactions even this year. So we do see a lot of interest for this direction. In terms of geography of the expansion, I think that there is huge interest in Europe still, although PFR does not have any sort of geographic targets for Polish companies going abroad, because we are happy to support them anyways in any geographies. But most of them would be probably benefiting Europe, and then some of them are also addressing the US market, which is also an interesting direction for us.
All of these topics have been most pronounced during the last Europe Future Forum, where you spoke, and PFR partnered up to set up a context of this discussion about the economic security, which shapes the markets, partly the policies of these markets. So we were, of course, very grateful at Visegrad Insight for this partnership. But I wanted to ask how much the discussion of instability and uncertainty that goes through Europe is also something that you have in discussion with your partners and companies, how much they are sensing that things might not go so well. And
well, I think that there are 2 lenses, at least, that we look at the sort of resiliency of the entire system. We do see that the business, I mean, is interested in investing in Poland and abroad, and we do see a lot of interest from investors from abroad investing in Poland. So we're very happy that this sort of long-term perspective for Poland is not that much changed. On the other hand, we do see a huge increase in interest in defense spending in companies or in funds that like 5 years ago were not interested in investing in dual use or defense at all. So this is a fundamental change. So we can very much address it. We've got tools to help investors address it. We have a dedicated deep tech fund within the fund of funds portfolio at PFR Ventures, our daughter company. We have direct engagements in defense companies like WB Electronics, which is one of the leading European producer in sort of connectivity and drone systems. And we do see our support going forward, because this is the defense spending, dual use spending, building resiliency is one of the cornerstones of stability of the region.
It looks we're talking both about traffic management, but also leading the way at the same time for the rest of Europe. At least I see the ambition there.
Well, PFR is about the ambitions very much. So we do see our role as an institution that, in a way, helps Poland to realize its ambitions in Europe and in the broader world. As you very rightly mentioned, the growth rate in Poland was probably one of the highest worldwide within the last 30 years. It was over 4%. On average. Then if you look at the accumulated value added in the economy within the last years, probably it was one of the largest worldwide too, among the first 5 countries position, Poland would be located. So, and now, of course, we are very proud to see each other among the largest 20 economies. It's a little bit of a matter of taking the right statistics, the right measure for that. But this is a fact. I mean, in a way, we are coming to this group, and that's very reassuring, because this is, in a way, work of all of us, of all of the Poles, throughout the last 30 years, that we've been very much recognized for, being hardworking, high work ethics, and very cooperative. Also very open to to see investors from abroad. But now we would like to very much play the role of an investor somewhere else too. So PFR is the very right tool to help every company to do that.
All right. So, dear listeners, watch for PFR further projects, its international expansion and communication, the storytelling behind the Polish traffic manager. Thank you very much.
Stay tuned.
Stay tuned. Piotr Matczuk, thank you for your time and sharing your thoughts with our listeners.
Thank you very much.
And that's all from this week's episode of the Visegrad Insight podcast, bringing you the leading voices from Central Europe and on Central Europe.
Make sure to subscribe, and we'll be in touch next week.